Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! Here goes the mother! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
We need if you can survive!
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and sitting right next to me is my brother, Tommy. How's it going, Tommy?
I'm good. How are you?
And joining us once again is our good brother from Pro Wrestling 101 on Instagram. It's Richard. How's it going, Richard?
It's a beautiful day in America, isn't it, folks?
Absolutely.
Hell yes.
It's been an amazing weekend to celebrate. I haven't done this yet, but I'll tell you this, Richard. So I last December I got a bottle of a little bit of bubbly, Chris Jericho's champagne, and I haven't opened it yet. I've been waiting for a reason to open it, something to celebrate. I thought I was going to celebrate maybe in February, and the Niners went to the Super Bowl. Of course, they didn't win, unfortunately. So it's been sitting in the fridge the whole time. So I think at some point, I was going to do it yesterday, but got busy watching AEW's pay-per-view, so I didn't have time. But at some point in the coming days, I want to open it and finally drink it and celebrate for what happened in America a couple days ago. So very exciting stuff. But here we are back at it for another week of In The Kliq. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube as well. We appreciate all the continuous support from you guys and the Kliqsters. A lot of stuff to talk about. First things first, just some little bit of quick clickbait news. So towards the end of the week, it was officially announced that Survivor Series is going to be a farewell to The Undertaker. Very fitting. It's the 30th anniversary of his debut in WWF back at Survivor Series 1990. And so when the official announcement came out, I mean, there's rumors a couple weeks ago. I mean, even earlier this year, I think a lot of people started speculating with after the last ride wrapped up as far as new episodes on the WWE Network. A lot of people were speculating what's next for The Undertaker. Is he going to have some form of retirement, goodbye ceremony? And a lot of people were connecting the dots and be like, it would make sense for him to do something at Survivor Series. It's the 30th anniversary of his debut as The Undertaker. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, I think a lot of people were kind of questioning if something was going to actually happen or not. Well, now, this week, WWE made it official, and they're going to do like a farewell party. I don't know what's the right term, but Tommy, so you have the press release that was up at WWE.com. So
yes.
Go ahead and read like just that first paragraph from their website.
It says here, Undertaker's final farewell will recognize the Phenom's legendary 30-year career at Survivor Series on Sunday, November 22nd, streaming at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time on the award-winning WWE Network.
Cool. So, Richard, just kind of your thoughts on this. I mean, for me, I'm glad that they're going to do something at Survivor Series to honor not only the 30th anniversary of his debut, but it looks like they're going to officially do like this farewell. I don't know if you want to call it a retirement party. I still think they're going to wait and do something probably bigger at a future date, maybe at a WrestleMania when a crowd is able to be there in person. But just kind of your thoughts on just this announcement for The Undertaker.
I think it's well deserved. I would think, let me know what you think about this, that if they did some sort of Undertaker award for the Hall of Fame, induct him in the Hall of Fame, but also have something commemorating him, like the Warrior Award.
Okay, I'm trying to think what kind of award could it possibly be?
Like a leadership type award.
Locker
he was
room
always
leader.
Yeah, because he was always that.
And not have you could have it be something that's not every year even. You know what I mean? Like it's only for selected people, but it's an honor to get that award.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think.
I think this is like the first step. I mean, they're doing a different episode of the Road to Undertaker or whatever every single day. It's and I'm watching all of them. They're excellent.
I haven't watched the latest one, the Mortician one, Paul Bear, the story Paul Bear. I want to watch that one. Apparently, it debuted this morning, but a lot of people are already praising it. It's cool. I mean, I'm a big Paul Bear fan. I mean, we grew up with him, and he was, his second manager for The Undertaker. So,
do you think that he deserves his own Hall of Fame induction night where it's just him being inducted?
Wow. I mean,
because they do stuff like that in Hollywood for like a Mark Twain award where they'll give it to a comedian, and it's just kind of people honoring him all night, and he's sitting there, whoever it is. I think The Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame is a bigger deal than your average wrestler based off of 30 years and just WWE, but then WCW, WCCW, USAWA, Memphis. It's just
So I wonder. I think what you said is a good point. This could be the beginning of, I don't want to say dragged out, but the beginning of multiple phases of this retirement ceremony, if you want to call it that. It's going to be done in phases. So I think like this farewell is going to be here, and they say he's going to be live in person there. So I don't know if he's going to come out to the ring, say goodbye. Is he going to get involved in some capacity? I'm not looking ahead to Raw already, just recapping that. But we saw like Sheamus more or less tell Drew McIntyre like, hey, you should come be on Team Raw. And he's like, not yet. I got stuff with Randy Orton. What happened if that fifth and final spot on Team Raw is maybe left for The Undertaker or something? I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I think Undertaker is fine not wrestling again per se, even though in the last ride he did say if Vince has an emergency and breaks that glass and calls me, I'll be there. But he said his match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania is fine as far as a last match in WWE. I mean, the more I think about it,
well, isn't Braun got that spot on Raw?
Yeah, so he's the fourth spot. So so there's one more opening left. So it's AJ, Sheamus, Keith, Braun. So that's four. So there's one more spot open. Sheamus, we saw later in the night, asked Drew, "You should come join us." And kind of goes back. I mean,
well, that would be something too for AJ to be the team captain to get the Undertaker.
Yeah, very much so. That could be interesting. Or even still, just that night, Survivor Series. Because remember, like, for a few weeks after WrestleMania, he was kind of like post-traumatic stress. Like, we saw the Undertaker's image. He got us scared.
Which we're getting on NXT now, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Camera grab. But I'm just saying, it could be kind of cool if maybe at Survivor Series, Undertaker's there and AJ, like freaks out. Like, oh, my God, you're here. Like, last time I saw you buried me alive. And, but yeah, I think they're probably going to do something special here. He's going to come out. Maybe someone's going to interrupt and he, delivers another choke slam or something like that. Something simple. Maybe they'll have highlights throughout the show. I don't know. But I think this is just the beginning of phases to eventually maybe have one big final send off in front of a big crowd at WrestleMania. So I respect that they're honoring his legacy as far as it's starting at Survivor Series, and therefore they're going to make it a big deal at Survivor Series. But I think at the end of the day, you want to honor him on the biggest stage there is, which is WrestleMania in front of a packed house. Now, granted, when is a packed house going to happen again? Hopefully maybe next year in some capacity. That's yet to be seen. But yeah, maybe next year he can be the only honoree or induction for the Hall of Fame. But the problem is, the 2020 class didn't get their official ceremony, and I think they said they're just going to carry over to 2021.
They are.
So maybe Undertaker could just be added to that, and that's it. I don't know. I think for Undertaker, I'm with you. Like, with his legacy, he deserves all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
As far as, maybe at WrestleMania he doesn't like wrestle, but he comes out, takes a bow or a knee, all that stuff. Hall of Fame to go out big for him. A very similar party like on Raw, like how Ric Flair got his after the night after Shawn Michaels match. So I think this is the beginning of a lot of stuff lined up.
And if you think about it, if they did his own night for an induction, kind of just paying tribute to him, where he gives a speech at the end and make it short. Think of all the people that could just go up and say some things about him, from The Rock, Austin, all the WrestleMania legends, and then him stand alone at WrestleMania because his legacy stands alone for WrestleMania.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then the fans get to see him that way, and then they get to see him again on Monday, like you said. So it would be like the most epic of retirements.
Yeah. So I'm sure we'll probably get more in the coming weeks. And I mean, obviously we'll watch Survivor Series, we'll review it, see how that plays out, and then maybe speculate what happens next after that. So like I said, I think Survivor Series is just step one of many steps that probably Vince wants to go all out and send off Undertaker in proper style. And it's going to be interesting. Like, even my other thing, though, is just playing devil's advocate. Okay, they give him a big send-off farewell. What happens if next year, 2 years from now, like Saudi Arabia or whatever has like big money and wants Undertaker again? He wrestles another match. Do you think that will taint some of this?
No.
These parties?
It did it for Ric Flair?
No.
Exactly.
No.
And everyone knows, I mean, it's common knowledge that the Saudis pay them directly. So it's like, you're getting a giant paycheck and
wrestling 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. That's the funny thing with Ric Flair is like, that's probably the best comparison to make with Undertaker as far as probably the size of the celebration is, in WWE's lore, the match against Shawn Michaels, that's it. But we all know he had stuff in TNA and did a bunch of other stuff. So for Undertaker, though, it's interesting how this is going to play out and just like what's next. Like I said, I think there's going to be a lot in store that Vince we saw how emotional Vince gets just thinking about Undertaker and talking about him. So,
and is there there's not those guys that really deserve that even?
Yeah.
Like Andre the Giant, Hogan, Flair, and Undertaker. That's it. Like if you're looking at a giant scope of things like that, then like Austin and Rock are so far down the totem pole compared to those four, even though they have such a big impact.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting just see what comes out of all this. I'm looking forward to it, and Survivor Series is going to be really interesting as well, and we'll kind of get into that. I kind of wonder how this is all going to work with the build-up. And so let's just go ahead and jump into Monday Night Raw this week. We'll kind of power through it since a lot happened, but it's continuing the build-up for Survivor Series this year. It's going to be just Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, no NXT involvement. Makes sense. They don't want that many extra bodies inside the Thunderdome. Don't want to risk, COVID potentially bringing people in who are exposed. You don't want to expose your entire roster in one afternoon for the pay-per-view. So they're trying to keep it to a minimum as far as the number of superstars in-house. The main thing for this show, as far as let's looking at Randy Orton's storyline right now, since he is the current WWE champion, and I'm really digging. I don't know about you guys. I'm digging the fact that he has like 3 different challengers coming after him. He has Drew McIntyre, who's still coming after him. He Clayboarded him in that opening segment and still says he wants a rematch for that title. You got The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, still kind of haunting him. And you see he's very much, inside the Firefly Funhouse, the elements of their past matches from a few years ago. Alexa Bliss came out to the ring and has like her own gloves now. The gloves, it said,
Play and Pain.
Yeah. And so she's kind of like Bray Wyatt's messenger. And I like she's even starting to get like dreads now. Like her look is like slowly morphing to match Bray Wyatt's or the Fiend's. And then even when Drew Claymore, Randy Orton, he was laid out there. You saw Miz and Morrison come right now with the Money in the Bank, and he was almost teasing the idea of cashing in. So, like I said, he has 3 different people following Randy Orton. So, Richard, just kind of your thoughts on just Randy Orton's current situation right now. I think it's more intriguing. Instead of just dealing with one-on-one, he has like keep his head on a swivel because he has 3 different people coming after him.
That's the job of the champion, and he should always have multiple heads coming after him, even if it's for a week. If this doesn't continue next week, it should be someone else. Yeah, it shouldn't just be like even when it was Rock and Triple H in 2000-ish. You still had like Rock going against Val Venus on a random SmackDown, or Hardcore Holly or something, and it's just something different to have every week. Otherwise, it's Drew and Randy brawling in the back and through like a match going on in the ring, and it's like, okay, this is boring. I don't really care.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's exciting because then it gives Randy a lot of layers. Even though he's technically a heel champion, it kind of makes it exciting because like that element of surprise. It's like, okay, if he's dealing with one person, he's still got to worry about 2 other guys coming after him. Tommy, how about you? Just your thoughts on it?
Oh, I like it. I think, the champion always will have a target on his back. And it reminds me of when, perfect example, in the mid 80s when Hogan, was at his top, he had like to worry about Bobby the Brain Heenan and his, stable of wrestlers like, King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, and later on, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. It's just a similar scenario right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something, all 3 of us, we love Drew McIntyre. We praise his title run for the majority of this pandemic era thus far. But, unfortunately, but he was focusing on one opponent, one challenger at a time, defeats them, goes on to the next person. And we love that. He was dominant. I love that he was a fighting champion, taking on every person thrown his way, but it was always one at a time. So this is a little bit of a different creative standpoint for WWE champion that we haven't seen in a while, that they have multiple people to worry about. So I'm all for that. I just real quick, Richard, want to ask you just Alexa Bliss's performance this week. In the Firefly Funhouse, they have the swear jar. She cuss. Eventually, she's like, "I got a new trick," and Bray, puts the hand over her head, and her eyes, turn like sadistic, and she's got like,
how do they do that?
Yeah, red. I don't know, is it like jelly or blood or some combination of it? Just
kind of looked like she was spitting on a Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, or Tommy, what was the things we used to eat? You unravel. And it was like apple flavor or strawberry flavor.
Like the push up.
No,
candy.
It was like wrapped up, and you undo it, and you like almost like a long tongue.
I don't remember the name.
I don't know. Anyone out there, the Kliqsters out there who grew up in the 80s.
Fruit by the foot.
Fruit by the foot.
Yeah, fruit by the foot. That might be it.
Okay, maybe. Yeah,
it's like a fruit snack.
Yeah,
fruit snack. Yeah,
fruit by the foot.
Yeah,
fruit by the foot. Good knowledge.
Yeah, so I'm digging this, and even later on, when Nikki Cross confronted her. And she turned around very much like Michael Jackson in Thriller.
Yeah.
Her eyes are, change. And I saw a meme, compared to Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars, like turning to the dark side. So I'm digging all of this. So it's very cool stuff. Something I want to touch on real quick. We were kind of joking via text the other day, was this guitar on a pole match between Jeff Hardy and Elias. All 3 of us who grew up in the 90s, we immediately made the connection of
Bro.
Vic
Venom, Vince Russo.
Jeff Hardy did get the win. He eventually did get the guitar. Tried to break it over Elias. Didn't break right away, but so he did get the victory. But I think this rivalry is far from over. But yeah, Richard, your thoughts on a guitar on a pole match on Raw this week?
Well, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but the guitar to the head is my favorite gimmick in wrestling probably ever. So Jeff Jarrett's very, very high on my list.
Yeah.
Slap nuts.
Yeah. But
when
it's like
when he hit Beetlejuice.
Oh my God, that was the best. But I don't know why they're using these hard guitars.
I know.
Because
Jeff Jarrett's was like the silver or grayed out one, and you knew it was like a toy.
Even when Jarrett was in TNA, like the guitars got cheaper, but the pop was better.
Yeah, they put powder in it, and
it was just cheap wood.
Yeah,
and I don't. It doesn't do it for me when you hit someone in the back with it. Even when Jarrett would hit someone in the back with it, it just doesn't. You got to hit him in the head.
You want in the.
But what about Honky Tonk Man? Didn't
Well, he broke Jake the Snake Roberts' neck.
I was thinking about that,
Oh, that's right.
in the snake pit.
Oh my God. That was, oh man.
And that resulted for him to getting more addicted to painkillers because of that incident.
Well, that's what he says.
So it was not kayfabe, like he legit broke his neck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he used the excuse to pop pills at that time?
That's the excuse.
Yeah. So, listen, it was kind of a goofy stipulation for this match, but, for us kids from the 90s, we all, I think, geeked out a little bit with that match. So, like I said, I think the rivalry is far from over. So I'm sure they're going to continue on Raw this week or whatever. Also, real quick, I just want to touch on, the continuation of adding members to Team Raw for Survivor Series. So we know it's AJ Styles, Keith Lee, and Sheamus so far. And they all go to the ring. AJ declares himself captain of Team Raw, which I'm okay. Like, AJ Styles is phenomenal. He's a world champion and, he's a very decorated champion.
He's an ambassador for the WWE.
And he's one of the best, in the company. I'm all for that. Even though Keith Lee and Sheamus were a little hesitant, Braun Strowman comes out and wants to be on the team. And then AJ came up with the idea, or excuse me, was it Adam Pearce, just said, all right, if you want on the team, you got to challenge Keith Lee and Sheamus. And if you win, Braun, you get to be added to the team. So they fought it out, and Braun shockingly got the victory.
Shockingly.
I mean, just, taking on 2-on-1, kind of or a triple threat, I guess technically it's a triple threat. But Braun Strowman got the victory. There was a little scary spot I noticed when Keith Lee almost fell on his neck.
Yeah.
That was on the outer part of the ring there. That was scary.
Very cringy.
Yeah. So, but Braun won. And I like how Braun was trying to shake their hands. He hugged Sheamus, but then Sheamus kicked him. Mm-hmm. And then Keith Lee started hitting Sheamus, and then AJ drop kicked Keith Lee, and then AJ was like, "No!" Like, why? Like his team's falling apart. Like, so the turmoil. So
this was one of those matches that reminded me how good Sheamus is.
Yeah. Very
like,
much. So.
He can kind of have his plug and play weekly matches, but like this was very good on his part.
I mean, Tommy, you and I, we were talking earlier, just three big hosses going at it.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Big hoss matches.
Fighting it out. I mean, it's funny because like Sheamus is the smallest out of three, but Sheamus is a big ass dude himself.
Oh, yeah.
And then speaking of Sheamus, so we just mentioned it a little bit earlier. So he runs into Drew McIntyre in the hallway backstage and pretty much asks him to join Team Raw. And he's like, I'm dealing with Randy Orton stuff still. I think eventually Drew's going to come around in the next couple of weeks before Survivor Series. Mm-hmm. And because, like, remember we talked about it last week, a little bit of a spoiler alert. Someone on Wikipedia put all 5 members of Team Raw, including at the time Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre, before Braun was even added. So maybe they already decided Drew was going to be part of the team as well. So a little bit spoiler alert.
I mean, we before that was even out. We on this podcast, they got it from this podcast because we said that by logical deduction that like Braun Strowman would be the other guy on that team based off of like the only 2 people that would make sense is Bray and Braun, and Bray doesn't play well with others, so Braun makes sense.
Yeah, and so I want Drew to be on Team Raw because I want him on Survivor Series. I want him to have a presence there. And we know Randy's going to be busy against Roman Reigns. And as you said, The Fiend doesn't get along with others. So he might have somewhat of a lurking presence at Survivor Series. But so for Drew specifically, I want him on Team Raw just so he's part of at least one match. So looking forward to that. Just real quick before I forget. So apparently the rumor is, in the last couple years, Raw versus SmackDown, we see like these invasions. Raw will go up on SmackDown and beat them up. They're all wearing their red shirts. And then the following week, SmackDown people in their blue shirts will invade Raw and beat them up. Apparently that's not going to happen this year because of COVID. What, you're not a fan of that?
No.
Really? How come?
I don't follow the whole brand supremacy thing. Like there's no stakes. Yeah. Like I love the elimination matches in general, but like the fact that there's nothing at stake means nothing that these people are invading.
True, and that's why I wish there were some sort of stakes, like maybe
that, or like if you're gonna do that, then you need to show up and try to injure the opposing team, so you've got an upper hand going into the match.
Yeah, like I think one stake easily for like Team Raw or Team SmackDown, the winner is those 5 people get like the last 5 spots in the Royal Rumble or something, or maybe eventually they all are in a fatal 5-way. For the term, the new number 1 contender for the championship. That. You know what I mean? Something basic like that. I mean, it's simple. And that way, like
or,
what they did with-
or the surviving members of that team, however many there are, get to have a championship match. So it could be 5, the 5 of them plus the champion, a 6-way or a 4-way, 3-way, 2-way, whatever.
Yeah. Let's say there's 2 members left. Like, let's just hypothetically say it's Braun and Keith Lee left and Team Raw wins. Yeah,
that's your main event for Raw the next night.
Yeah, and they fight each other for the number 1 contendership for against the champion. Yeah, I'm all for that. Like,
that'll work.
No. I'm saying like let's say Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins are the sole survivors for SmackDown.
Yeah.
So that following SmackDown, the 2 of them go up against Roman Reigns.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm all for that. It's something
that way you're also promoting your next TV show.
Exactly. And it writes itself already. Yeah. Like, you know, for the writers involved, it keeps it simple. So I'm all for that. And I'm a little bummed because, I mean, like, you know, that's how the man Becky Lynch was kind of ultimately born, you know, with the bloody nose, was the invasion of Survivor Series. So, I mean, I do enjoy those aspects of it.
Well, and don't forget that one time that Natalya grabbed Zack Ryder's junk.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That's the one thing that everyone loves.
They like isolate. It's like a meme and everything. Yes. Yeah. And Zach's like standing there like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, bro.
The cameras are on.
Chelsea's going to be mad. So I'm a little bummed out, but I was thinking, okay, what's the alternative? Maybe what's like a backup plan if you can't have cross promotions because they're trying to keep the minimum amount of people in the building at any given day because of the pandemic. Like, I don't know, maybe film some pre-segments of, okay, for example, I'm just jumping ahead. Roman Reigns, you know, on SmackDown, he has an office that him and Paul Heyman work out of. Maybe Randy Orton.
You're already overthinking this.
I know I'm overthinking, but just listen. Like, let's say hypothetically, Randy Orton cuts a video and says, you know, hey, I'm here on Mondays. I broke into your office and destroyed it. Maybe they start off SmackDown, Roman walking into his office. He's like, what the hell? Why is my office destroyed? He goes to the ring, says, who did this? And then Randy has a video package and says, this, I did it. And then you kind of builds up the segment between the program between Roman and Randy. That's what I'm thinking. Like,
I say go old school pay-per-view.
What's that?
With the Survivor Series, you have Kayla Braxton or whoever the backstage interviewer is for that show, Charlie Caruso, and you have all 5 members of that team, and they cut promos like they used to.
Yeah,
and then for the individual matches, so like on Raw and the pay-per-view, Raw, SmackDown, and some Survivor Series, you've got promos going, and make it funny and make it goofy and make it crazy and wacky and zany and whatever.
Yeah,
because they were always amusing, and that's like where you get all those famous Hulk Hogan promos is from interviews like that with Mean Gene.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, I will admit, like, okay, I'm not jumping the SmackDown early again, but Kayla Braxton this week, I kind of like how she was digging into, was it Jay? Yeah, it was Jey Uso, right? And she was kind of digging into him and asking some hard-hitting questions. I was like, that's kind of like what Mean Gene would have done. Like, no offense to the other interviewers, you know, over the last handful of years, but a lot of them are very robotic and just, you could tell they're just reading.
Charlie does that too. Charlie's an excellent, interviewer for WWE.
Yeah, exactly. But like I'm thinking, like, was it Mike, the Mike guy, Rome or no?
Rome.
I mean, he's like an announcer now, like the ring announcer. But he did stuff. Like a lot of them were just like very just by the numbers. So I like when the interviewer can like put some personality and like call them out on their BS and whatnot and add to the storyline. So. Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's many ways you could still build up the rivalry between Raw and SmackDown in this pandemic era. One last thing on Raw, just real quick. Everyone was talking about Tucker. You know, we know him and Otis broke up. Heavy Machinery's done. Tucker made his appearance on Raw this week in his new look, taking on Ricochet. A lot of people were joking, like he had the slick back hair, baby oil. He had just some big old pants, like a Tommy Dreamer looking pants. And a lot of people were saying he looked like a jobber from the 90s. I kind of laughed, but at the same time I felt bad. And it just made me question, why'd you break up Heavy Machinery if this is what you're going to do to him?
Yeah.
I don't know, Richard, what'd you think of just Tucker this week on Raw?
He's getting a push. It's like I don't know.
Well, okay.
It's like that. That saying, "Every day's a gift." but my question is, does it have to be socks? So,
so it's like he's on TV, but it's that. It's that look. So,
but it might grow. It might change. I mean, are you really missing at this point Keith Lee's old outfit, or are you just used to his new outfits?
I'm used to it.
The way he dresses. Yeah, I'm used to it.
The singlet now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
I think give it a couple weeks, and if I'm hating it in a week or two, then it really is the shits. So
yeah, we'll see how it goes. I just kind of felt bad, and I think a lot of people were anticipating I know it's only 1 week, but a lot of people are anticipating oh dude, he's done. There's gonna be nothing else lined up for him, and obviously Otis is on SmackDown, so they're not gonna address it anymore. I think they're just both split and they're done. And even Otis, we'll get into Otis real quick on SmackDown later, but yeah, so we shall wait and see. All right, let's jump on over to Wednesday night for NXT this week. Initially going into it, I was reading online or I was listening to our friends over at Pro Wrestling Unlimited. They reported a story that apparently Triple H and the creative team didn't have much lined up for this episode of NXT, even though it was the Fallout episode from Halloween Havoc. But because of the election, the presidential election on Tuesday, and they assumed that a lot of news and carryover was going to happen on Wednesday, they didn't want anything major to happen on NXT this week from a story standpoint, because they just were worried not people were going to be watching this week. They're all going to be watching CNN or other news channels just following up on the presidential election. But nonetheless, so going into it, my expectations were extremely low, but I was really impressed. I still enjoyed NXT this week. Tommy, what were your thoughts on NXT?
I thought it was a great show. I thought, what really stole the show for me was just Pat McAfee.
Yeah, Pat McAfee, and I thought there was a lot of great wrestling this week. Richard, how about you? Just your initial takeaways from NXT this week.
It was the most entertaining show in wrestling this week.
Really? Okay.
I enjoyed all the segments.
Mm-hmm.
There was plenty of matches.
Yeah.
Now I got a question. I'm going to jump ahead for you.
Okay.
Did Cameron Grimes tap out because he was in pain, or he was afraid of the referee?
Oh, definitely afraid of the referee.
Yeah, the referee. Totally. No, absolutely. So, okay, let's go down real quick. Dakota Kai got a big win over Ember Moon to start off NXT, which is great. I mean, the women's division is stacked. I mean, this is Dakota Kai, Ember Moon going at it. We also saw video packages from Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai both calling each other out and challenging each other. So Rhea Ripley is going to be Io's, looks like, next opponent for the NXT Women's Championship. Awesome for that. But yeah, Dakota Kai snuck out a victory over Ember Moon, who's back on NXT now. I think it was their second match. So back with them. So awesome matchup there. Great opening match for them. So yeah, jumping ahead. So Cameron Grimes backstage doing an interview, and he keeps looking around, he's paranoid. And the interviewer's like, "You okay?" And he's still just dealing with the post-traumatic stress of Halloween Havoc in that matchup. So
courtesy of Dexter Loomis.
And the ref, who was the zombie at the haunted house match, he comes walking up and he's like, "Ah!" And he starts running away. And then he has his match against
from the moment in the match the referee came out.
Yeah,
the referee even looked timid. Should I be the one doing this?
Yeah, totally. I agree.
So him and Kushida go at it, and it was a great match. I mean, Kushida obviously is one of the best technical wrestlers on NXT, and
great submission specialist.
And Cameron Grimes, listen, I know he comes off very comedic or whatnot, but he's a badass in the ring himself when he
great
needs
worker.
He's a great worker. So this was a great match. And then Kushida puts the lock in. The Bay Area's own Tom Castor, referee from the Bay Area, he takes 2 ref bombs.
Oh yeah,
falls outside, and then the other ref, the zombie ref,
classic bump ref.
And I love that he comes out, and for him, it's just business as usual. Like, he's like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, for him, he has like no recollection of what happened at Halloween Havoc. So Cameron Grimes is like the only one that's afraid of this ref. And so he comes out, and Kushida has the lock on Cameron Grimes, and Cameron's just like, I think, as you said, like, he was just scared of the ref being there, so he immediately tapped out. Like, I want to get away from him.
He just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, so I love it. So I wonder how much longer this post-traumatic stress is going to last for. Is it going to last through the month of November? Is it going to be like an ongoing, maybe it could be like an ongoing joke. So every time he sees that ref, he's always going to be scared. It could be like the middle of March. Yeah. And he's going to be scared of that ref. So, also, our new favorite tag team in NXT, Drake Maverick and Killian Dane, come out with their amazing.
I love that music. That should be the opening to this show.
I can't whistle. But I could do the dance.
Yeah.
Oh man, William just turned off this podcast.
Does he hate it?
He hates whistling.
Oh my
All
God.
Right. We won't whistle anymore.
Yeah, we won't whistle. Taking on Everrise, a rematch from a couple weeks ago. Ended in no contest, but Richard, I love that Killian Dane pretty much uses Drake Maverick as his own personal weapon and throws him on Everrise and stuff. So
he's like a crash test dummy for him.
It's very reminiscent of Spike Dudley and ECW with whoever you want to be his tag team partner.
Right.
Drake Maverick, the 2020 version of Spike Dudley. I love that comparison.
Sure, great comparison.
But yeah, ended in no contest because Pat McAfee and his new faction of Oni and Lorcan and Birch and
Pete Dunne.
They come in, like, they pull up in the big SUV, enter through the door, and just walk straight to the ring, beat the crap out of everyone, and then they cut this awesome promo. Just kind of saying, like, Undisputed Era is gone. I mean, the first one, they kind of explained Pete Dunne's action, which perfectly summed up what we already talked about was, Undisputed Era has been like a thorn in Pete Dunne's side for years.
And everyone's side.
Yeah, so Pete Dunne has every right to not align himself with Undisputed Era. Like, he has every right to beat the crap out of him.
It's almost surprising the rest of the roster hasn't joined it.
Pat McAfee could become the ultimate babyface. He has everyone in the whole roster on his side.
Pete Dunne has made this group relevant.
That's how you... No, that's not true. I think that's how you could get Undisputed Era on Raw or SmackDown, too.
Run them off.
It's not safe for them to be at NXT anymore because of all the trouble that they've caused.
Yeah, it's all coming back to them, the karma. No, but Tommy, you and I mean, we really... Pat McAfee, I mean, obviously he's great on the mic.
He's the best heel on NXT.
And he was, breaking down, like, the reason why everyone in his group is together and why they hate Undisputed Era. I mean, for Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, like, they felt that they're always being looked over because Undisputed Era took control of everything.
Yeah.
And it was great. My only thing, though, NXT this week, I don't know about you, but guys, but the camera work, I was getting kind of dizzy. Like, they were in the ring and it was like constantly like kind of shaking a lot more than usual. I don't know why, but like they're in there talking and they're all trying to jump in front of the camera, but the camera's constantly moving around. So it's like, stay still. Like, I know you're all trying to celebrate and like,
I think that's partly Pat, because typically when someone cuts a promo, they're standing in one place and they're using their arms, and Pat's moving around and making them work more. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, true. So,
and I mean, the camera's on their shoulder. It's not on a tripod or anything.
Yeah. So that's something I noticed. But nonetheless, I love this promo. And I mean, it's not been officially announced, but we can only assume this is going to lead to a War Games match. So 4-on-4. So any rumors of Undisputed Era breaking up, I'm sure that's on hold right now until this rivalry gets taken care of. So we shall wait and see how that plays out. Also, Tony Storm defeats Shotzi Blackheart ultimately because of Candice LeRae, jumped on the screen, had a big truck, and ran over Shotzi Blackheart's little toy tank. I mean, you feel bad for Shotzi Blackheart because that's like part of her gimmick. And she was so torn and upset. Even Toni Storm, after defeating her, was like, "Are you okay?"
She was like consoling her.
Yeah, so it looks like Shotzi Blackheart, Candice LeRae are far from over. I did laugh, though, Richard, seeing the ghost face mask person in the back of the truck. And even earlier in the night, we saw the Johnny Gargano promo from their house. And he was saying, I love wheels, and all this stuff. And he's more or less saying, like, listen, I know that I have like a curse of not being able to defeat or defend my championships in the past. I always lose them, but I'm going to break that curse, and I'm going to defend this championship and retain the title. So, so just for you, I assume like in the household, when they were in the house, that had to be Candice LeRae wearing the mask. And then in the back of the truck, I'm sure it's the opposite. It was role reverse. So it was Johnny wearing the mask. So,
well, we've seen three people in one place.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably Indy Hartwell.
There's speculation it could be her.
Yeah. So, and, Austin Theory's also there. So I wonder how long they're going to stretch this out for until they make the reveal of who's under the mask.
Probably at War Games.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be continuing at War Games in some capacity. So, we'll see how that goes. And then the main event: Tommaso Ciampa taking on Velveteen Dream.
Oh,
what?
Oh, I just thought it was a great match. I mean, just Ciampa was just beating the snot out of Velveteen Dream in this match. It was just brutal to watch. I
loved Ciampa's gear coming out.
Yeah,
that looked so badass.
I agree.
What would you say? It was like a medieval robot, or cyborg, or medieval mixture of a cyborg. Yeah, armor.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating, and we kind of seen other masks, so it seems like it's been evolving. Yeah,
there's a lot of Mad Max masks going around. Try to say that 5 times fast.
Right. Yeah.
So but this match I thought was great. I mean, come on, and I mean, Velveteen Dream, Tommaso Ciampa are two of now at this point the veterans of NXT in that brand. So
yeah.
I mean, crap, you put the two of them together, they're going to deliver a great match there. So
Ciampa with his great psychology, it's just tremendous.
Yeah, and then he did get the victory. It was Dream was trying to use a chair.
Yeah. I like how he pushed the cameraman out of the way.
And then he went on top rope, and then he jumped and missed, and he flipped, and his feet landed on the ropes, and Ciampa lifted him up to do his move. And then, it was an interesting sequence right there. I enjoyed that. But I'll ask you guys this, though. Has Velveteen Dream's stock have just drastically fallen?
Yes.
I was like, where does Dream go from here? Even Ciampa, where does he go from here?
Ciampa wants to stay in NXT from everything I've heard.
Yeah,
and
from because of his neck, he just doesn't want to do Raw or Smack. Even though Raw or Smack they're doing once a week as well. But if and when they do return to more shows, he doesn't want to
risk anything
and go with that schedule, work that type of schedule. NXT is his limit, which is fine.
Yeah.
But Velveteen Dream, I was watching this, and it's he didn't have a big entrance. He was in the ring when they came back from commercial.
I noticed
he's one of the best wrestlers in the entire company, and unfortunately, he's painted with an unfair brush. Even though the guy's been proven innocent from sexual misconduct allegations, he's still guilty in the fans' eyes, which is not fair because the same thing happened to Jerry the King Lawler in the early 90s, where Lawler had a 13 or 14-year-old girl say that she slept with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I heard about this.
And it got around, WWE let him, or WWF at the time let him go. And then it came out later that the girl just didn't realize, she was saying it to brag. She knew him because she did his merch or something. And at a Memphis show.
What?
Right.
Really?
So, so even though she came out later and said, no, I didn't realize this would get so big. It was just something I said to my friends. In the public's eyes, to this day, I can post a photo of Jerry the King Lawler on my Instagram, and I'll still get some smart mark that says, oh, look, a pedophile.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I feel like Dreams just has to stand tall and move forward.
Yeah, I just wonder how long he's going to kind of be in just this territory of just existing on the roster. Will he get another push at some point? He's kind of in this gray area while everyone else is kind of has more defined plans. It looks like he's just kind of there. So,
well, if you look at it, things could just be on hold too right now because of Finn Balor's jaw injury.
Yeah,
so
that too.
Like one of those two or both of them could have been vying for Finn Balor, and that's on the back burner right now.
Yeah, and to NXT's credit, they are they're doing fine without Finn Balor having a presence there. I mean, luckily NXT has a big enough roster now where they have plenty of people to do their thing and fill up time and, keep the show moving along and being very interesting. So, hopefully Finn Balor comes out soon. I don't know. Have you guys heard anything of like possible return date?
No.
No.
Okay, so we'll wait and see. NXT, there's a few other things. Oh, one thing I do want to ask you before I forget. We saw Timothy Thatcher do another segment.
Oh, these are great.
Yeah. Xia Li also, it looks like she made another challenge. Like she just needs to keep fighting. So, but one thing I do want to ask. So we saw Jake Atlas, or actually we saw Legado del Fantasma, the three of them walking to the Performance Center. And we see Jake Atlas pull up, beat up two of the guys, and stare at Escobar, and then drives off. What do you think what's going on here? I have a theory, but I'm kind of wondering if either of you have any interpretation of that. Richard, do you think?
I think that's more so him showing him that I can get to you.
Okay.
Like, hey, just because you've got these guys with you doesn't mean that I can't get through them to get to you.
Okay.
That's
all right.
true.
That's true. My thinking is he attacks the other two guys, but he never attacks Escobar. Do you think in a way he's trying to prove himself and wants to join the faction?
No.
You sure? It'd be interesting. Like maybe in a way he's like, listen, like as you said, like I can beat these two. I should be aligning myself with you. I
think he's still very new. And when I look at him, I see like a babyface cruiserweight Ricky Steamboat.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I feel like Jake Atlas has nothing going on. Like he's extremely talented. We've seen him wrestle many times here in the Bay Area, but I just feel like they have nothing for him, and his character is so plain that there's nothing there. So I'm just trying to think of ways that they can use him to elevate him and give him like a stronger storyline. So that's just one idea I had. So we'll see how it goes. If there's any more, what's next as far as this evolving story. I hope there's more to the story. So, all right, let's jump on over to Thursday for NXT UK. Pretty basic show. I'll say this. I think, one, it's the fallout from the Walter match against Dragunov, and that's how they started the show off. It's just like a highlight video, and the backstage area. Dragunov was like, Tom, you saw on the steps.
He was just in pain
and beat up. And listen, I know NXT UK as far as their returns only still like a month and a half old, but the amount of like social media coverage or people acknowledging that match has been amazing over the last week. So I think it's just really cool that Walter and Dragunov got a lot of attention for that matchup, and it just shows how great it was.
Right.
So, just another reminder why you need to watch NXT UK every week.
Yeah.
Because you'll see great matches like that.
Right.
So I still kind of feel, Tommy, like this match or this episode of NXT UK.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was necessarily like a filler episode, but I think it was like a cooling off period.
Yeah, I agree.
Post Walter match.
But, you still got to, talk about the Heritage Cup. They're in the semifinals right now. And in the main event, it was Noam Dar versus A-Train.
A-Kid.
A-Kid, I'm sorry.
A-Train is
Tensai. Albert,
yes. I got my A's mixed up here.
That's coming from a Giants fan. He's not an Oakland A's fan.
Yeah.
So,
but this match was, these guys took it to the limit.
Yeah.
And Nigel McGuinness was touching on how A-Kid is more of a progressive style, while Noam Dar is more classical in the sense, more of a grappling kind of technical kind of style. But, these guys, I thought, Noam Dar was being, the snobby little heel that he was, just doing dirty stuff to A-Kid during this match, and you know, in the end, A-Kid got the win. He put him in the Gogo Plata submission hold and made him tap out.
And it went the full 6 rounds.
Full 6 rounds.
So that's the first time in this tournament we got to see the full 6 rounds.
So A-Kid won 2-1 in this semifinal match, and he'll go on to face
the winner of Trent and the big dude.
Yeah, I forgot his name, though.
The heavyset guy.
Yes.
With the knockout.
Yeah, it was a good match.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the opening match. Gallus defeating Sam Gradwell. Welcome him back after being out 2 years with that knee injury.
Right.
And Pretty Deadly, which I'm digging that tag team, Richard. Like, I was telling Tommy earlier, to me, they look like members of the Lost Boys, like the vampires. And they got the long hair.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
they got that 70s glam rock look, too. You know, I always say, you know.
So, when I see Pretty Deadly, I just think of the movie The Lost Boys. But
yeah, good comparison.
So Gallus won here. So it's good to see them. You know, 2/3 of them are the NXT
and Pretty Deadly's is it Pretty Deadly? Their third guy was Sam Gradwell. Yes.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys. Did you see a report that I don't know if I think they're keeping it quiet, but apparently Mako Satomura might be going to NXT UK?
Oh no, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I think I had that in my notes. Yeah, she signed with them.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she was in the Mae Young Classic, right? A couple years ago.
Yeah, she was also in WCW.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she signed as a trainer / performer. And she's going to be reporting this month to NXT UK. So she's going to be, I guess, like help training, but also I think she will have some occasional matches. So yeah, no, thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, no, that was reported officially. So
she's tremendous.
That's going to be
absolutely
awesome.
Tremendous.
So it's interesting, like for her to work for NXT UK versus maybe coming to NXT in Florida or something like that.
If you look her up on YouTube, she's worked in Progress and What Culture, and like she's got a lot of history with the UK.
Okay, gotcha.
I have to watch more tape on her matches.
Yeah, I mean, she's from Japan, right?
Japan, yes.
Yeah. So that's very cool. Also, Jeannie defeated Aaliyah James. Aaliyah James.
Yeah. She's a young up-and-coming talent.
And then Piper Niven came out, beat up Jenny, and then we saw was it
Kaylee Ray.
the
NXT UK Women's Champion.
Yeah, and they challenged, and it looks like they're going to have a fight pretty soon.
Yeah, and Piper Niven was going after Kaylee Ray in the back, and
so
and also the new signee they got is Rampage Brown. They were showing him backstage at the Performance Center area there, and just showing him around.
So it looks like Rampage Brown will have a matchup pretty soon. And I also enjoyed Eddie Dennis's message to Andrews and Webster. He had the hunt with them, and he's like pretty much
the slender man.
Yeah, he's really skinny.
He's an odd fella.
It's weird. He's like Cesaro. Like he's just tall and lanky, but like there's muscle there. Because I've seen Eddie Dennis do some like stuff that you wouldn't think he'd be able to do based off of his size. But I mean, I'm not comparing his strength to Cesaro. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. So, but I was just gonna say, it was cool. Like he has the hunt. They had their mask on, Tommy, and they were They had their.
You have to watch.
They were the mask.
What are they called?
The hunt.
The hunt.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead. Continue.
The hunt. HUNT.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Not see you next Tuesday.
Danny, come on.
So, but I like he's like they're like his animals.
Right.
He's the master, the owner, and they're like his animals to prey on whoever he tells them to. So that was kind of cool. They had their mask on. They were like growling and barking. So very cool promo. So see how that goes out. But yeah, no, solid episode of NXT UK. It definitely had more of like a filler vibe. I mean, like you said, I think it's a cool-off period post that Walter match. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch that Walter Dragunov match.
You got to jump on the bandwagon and enjoy that match.
And Richard, real quick, I mean, for Sasha and Bayley's match at Hell in a Cell, you said, okay, we know WWE can't use. I mean, they're not supposed to bleed in a match, but you can make up for that by being violent. And use weapons. And that's something I didn't get to mention last week. That Walter match against Dragunov, there was no blood. I mean, at the very end, Dragunov was spitting up some blood, after the match.
Legitimately.
But that match, it was amazing. It was just hard hitting, and they're slapping each other and beating the crap out of each other, but they weren't using weapons. They weren't bleeding or blading in that match. But it was still very violent, hard hitting, and that's something I wanted to mention just real quick. So if you haven't done so, watch it. Like I said, some people were talking about that match still, so it was awesome. So
yeah, it was violent.
Yeah, very much so. So NXT UK still doing great things in their quote restart period for them. Last but not least, let's jump into Friday Night SmackDown. An episode was going into the episode. I was reading reports that they were anticipating that, being on Fox, that they might have some breaking news with the presidential election because they were still counting votes in the various states. And if there was going to be any sort of announcement Friday night, now we all know, looking back, it happened Saturday morning, but Friday night, they were anticipating if there was going to be any breaking news that Fox would cut to the news and cut off SmackDown. So I think for me, I kind of want to tune in and see if something was going to happen, or like would something major happen on the show and it gets like sent over to FS1 or something like that. So that was kind of my interest tuning in on Friday this week. But yeah, just Richard, kind of just any initial thoughts for SmackDown this week?
I thought SmackDown was very, very good. Very entertaining. I didn't dislike anything on it. There was certain things that stole the show for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm that Sasha Bayley match was damn good.
Yeah.
Billy Kay was funny as hell. I loved. I don't know if you caught this, but I thought this was the smartest thing I saw in wrestling this week. Was the three-way match with Zelina Vega, Ruby Riott, and Natalya, and when they both had their finishers on Zelina Vega. Ruby Riott had Zelina's hand trapped under her leg, and the second Natalya got up, Ruby lifted her own leg to give Zelina a chance to tap out, and it was just like, oh, that was just so smart.
That was smooth.
The detail right there was amazing. I'm with you.
That was on par with last year's pre-SummerSlam. They did something where it was someone from Raw, someone from SmackDown, someone from NXT, and Rhea Ripley got a pin on Charlotte when Charlotte had the figure 8 in.
Yep. Good point. No, that's very true. I love that. So let's jump into the Sasha Banks Bayley match. So the story here was from the fallout from Hell in a Cell. Bayley was telling Sasha, yeah, sure, you're the champion now, but you can never retain it. You always lose. So very much like Johnny Gargano that we mentioned a second ago. Bayley wins a title, but always drops it very quick. She has short title reigns because she can never beat anyone. So she's like, let's go have a rematch, and I'll get my title back. So that was the main narrative going to this match. And, dude, this match was awesome. For a random Friday night
opening
match, dude, what a banger that was. And, like, I'll say this. I was talking off the air to you guys. Like AEW, their women's division would love to have a match like that on a pay-per-view status, a pay-per-view quality match like that. And WWE delivers that on a Friday night opening match. So I was blown away how great that was. The intensity, it was like, about a little over 20 minutes, but just the intensity that they were going back and forth, and they were going like 100 miles an hour the whole time and not stopping. I love it. So kudos to all of them.
You know, it's interesting too. And this shows you just how good they are, is that there's only 2 sports that women can sell out an arena. Like, I know this is no seats, but tennis and wrestling. Like, that's how good these women are.
Yeah. And listen, SmackDown has some very awesome people on the roster. I mean, Bianca Belair, I think, is going to be waiting next. Natty, obviously, just a legend in her own right. But there's some other people. I mean, like, I just feel what I'm getting at is Bayley and Sasha are at a whole new level as far as performing goes. Their skills is just amazing. I love this. I mean, I know they say this all the time, but fight forever. Like, I could watch them go at it all night long. So
I feel very strongly that I know we'd never get it just based off of, and it's correct if you think about it. But Vince McMahon likes different tastes or flavors of ice cream. But I think that they need to start doing at least 2 or 3 pay-per-views a year that are Evolution pay-per-views.
Yeah,
because they're you could easily have Raw or SmackDown be just the women, and it will be good. But you'll get tired of it after a while, just because it's the same.
Or it's limiting.
It's all women.
It's limiting.
Yeah, you're gonna get the best matches of the week on that show. So,
yeah. I hear you.
But I do think that they need to reconsider that, because Evolution was so good. I mean, I watched it live. I watched it right after, and I think I watched it 2 or 3 days after.
Oh, really?
And this is so good, Bayley and Sasha, that it's like this. Why isn't this headlining a pay-per-view?
Yeah,
and not just a pay-per-view, but an all-women's pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm with you. I totally agree. I mean, they're just both of them are so talented. Their chemistry together is amazing. The moves that they were doing here was awesome. The spots, it was great.
We can sit here and debate from a personal standpoint what the best era of wrestling is, right? We can, or male roster, whatever. WWE, Attitude Era, New Era, 80s, WCW, ECW, AEW. Right now, I don't think there's any debate that this is the best women's wrestling in the world at any point in time.
Absolutely. This time period, we're very lucky to watch it live as it happens, and congrats to all of them involved. I mean, the last 5 years, I want to say, has been just tremendous. It's been so entertaining. And I think for Sasha Banks, so she was walking up the ramp celebrating. Carmella finally returns, does a super kick on her. What'd you think? What'd you think of Carmella's red outfit?
I thought it was very hot.
I was like, it kind of looks like Liv Morgan's outfit, but red. Yeah. Right? A little bit.
Yeah. I was into that. Lady
and Likey.
Was it, Tommy?
I said me likey.
Oh, I don't know if you guys saw the meme, like comparing it to Sean Connery, like that one movie he did. Like he had like
Zardoz.
Yeah. So they were saying, like, was that her tribute to Sean Connery? I was like, no, it's not.
Could be.
but it's funny, like Corey Graves, like we all know, real talk, they go out, their boyfriend, girlfriend. Like he was kind of quiet, and then like when Michael Cole turns to him, he was just like, yeah, I can't wait to see what she does next. Like, I mean, he's trying to, I think, stay in character, but he loved it, that whole segment. So it looks like Carmella and Sasha Banks, that's gonna be the new program, probably post Survivor Series, because she has to worry about Asuka right now for Survivor Series. Yeah. For Bayley, I think next for Bayley, her and Bianca Belair should be next. The two of them.
I like that.
Right? I mean, dude, that can take you through
contrast of styles. You've got someone that was known in NXT for helping out the up and coming women.
Yeah. But that can take you through December, the two of them, after Survivor Series, and you can build up to Royal Rumble. I mean, like, boom, that's it right there. But yeah, specifically the women's division, Billie Kay, like, dude, she's getting more TV time than Peyton Royce on Raw. Yep,
because she's got more character. I told you this.
Yes.
I told you this on this podcast 2, 3, 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
Like, I knew it with her. Like, I get it. Like, she's not as good in the ring as Peyton, but she is very good in the ring, and she's got way more character. Like, there's those WWE YouTube page, or on their YouTube page, they've got these clips of just all the time she's been in the back going, "You gotta be joking me!"
Yes.
And it's hilarious, and it's got like millions of views.
Yeah, she's awesome. So I her and the Street Profits and Big E, that whole segment was very funny. Yeah.
Did you notice Big E's sweater?
Yeah. What was it? Like a Mr. Rogers?
It was Texas Chainsaw Massacre on like a Mr. Rogers sweater.
I was like, why is he wearing a sweater playing a game on the ground?
What game was he playing?
I don't know. It was like,
looked like Trivial Pursuit or
Parcheesi. I don't know.
Parcheesi or
no, very fun segment there. I just want to touch on.
She brought a resume
and her headshot, both together, back to back.
Yeah, stapled together.
I just want to touch on real quick Roman Reigns and the continuation of the story with him and Jey Uso. So we see Jey Uso in the back, Kevin Owens and him, like he looks like Jay's getting coffee. Kevin's like, oh, Roman should be pouring his own coffee. So he's just assuming that coffee was for Roman and not for just Jay himself. Jay kind of being paranoid. It's like, what are you talking about? You making jokes? Like, they're going back and forth, and he's like, he has an interview coming up. He goes through the interview. As we mentioned earlier, Kayla was just kind of questioning him on his actions. Paul Heyman comes and is like, your cousin needs to see you. The segment outside the Roman's office, pretty much saying like, you don't do interviews unless you get my permission. And I was like, whoa. And Jay's like, really? Like, I can't do this. I'm a grown ass man. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, I can't be doing this. I love this. And one, Richard, you brought up last week, like, okay, because they were kind of little at the point of like overdoing it in the ring as far as the drama.
It flipped this week.
This week, I like it. It was kind of a little bit more of a minimum in segments throughout the night. And I'm cool with that. That way you're not overdoing it in one particular segment. But my reaction to this whole thing was like, Roman Reigns is coming off kind of like a criminal mob boss.
Yeah.
Like he's a shot caller.
Like Tony Soprano says, those who give respect, or those who want respect, give respect.
Yeah, so I like that. He's like telling Jay, it's like, okay, you work for me, more or less. Like you fall in line to me. You got to get my permission. If I'm not around, you get Paul Heyman's permission.
There's an order.
Yeah, like a pecking order of things. And so I dig this. Like Roman, like, you know, as far, I mean, this is obviously in WWE's bubble, their universe of storytelling, but you can apply everything that they're doing here to like The Godfather or something. So I love this. So I think this is a great now new story as far as the coming weeks. We'll see Jay try to balance being his own person, his own identity, but trying to please his cousin who's in charge of ultimately his lifestyle. And so I'm all for this. I was digging this very much. So it's going to be very interesting about that. So
he's humbled himself. You know, it's like it went so personal with the two of them, and it's like there's no retiring from this because this is family.
Yeah.
So it's like you can take my career, but like even after my career, you're still with me.
Yeah. So, dude, this is great. I'm digging this. And now you think about the next layer is when his brother comes back, and how's that going to play into a factor? Like, what's going to happen? Like, Jay eventually is going to, I think, probably embrace it even more. Like, he'll go to the dark side and fully maybe embrace Roman, we would assume. And then maybe his job next is to convert his brother too. So that's a whole nother layer that's due up.
And it's not like he can say no.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. Dude, I'm digging this. It's the character development of Jay right now. He's torn. Like, he wants to be...
He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. So we've seen this in various movies and whatnot, storytelling. So it's great. Just real quick, we saw King Corbin defeat Rey Mysterio. He's now part of Team SmackDown. Seth Rollins defeated Otis, and he's also part of Survivor Series team.
That was surprisingly good.
Really? You thought so?
Yeah. Otis and Seth Rollins. Yeah, I don't know. I like seeing Otis on his own.
Yeah.
Because he's not built like anybody else. Like, size aside, like, he's a shorter guy, but he's really stocky. He's clearly super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm liking it.
Yeah,
I like him on his own, and look forward to more like this.
What, Tommy or Richard, what do you guys think of his new theme song, like "Working Man"? Or
it was amusing. It's very 80s. I loved it.
Yeah,
like
very
comes out
montage-esque type music soundtrack. You know,
yeah, so
his dancing was what made it.
By the way, real quick, I love Kevin Owens wearing a Dusty Rhodes shirt.
Yeah, that was nice.
Earlier in the night, when he was talking to Jay, I thought that was pretty cool. It was like a cool Dusty Rhodes shirt. So
what do you make of him wearing pants now?
He wore. I see. Okay, the last couple of weeks he was wearing pants, but this week he was back to wearing shorts.
Yeah, I just
Kevin Owens. That. Yeah, so Kevin Owens this week had the red KO shirt and back wearing shorts. But no, I kind of prefer the shorts.
I do too. I don't like the
it's
pants.
his signature look.
Yeah, like, because originally he had the pants on Raw when he took an Aleister Black in that hardcore or no DQ match.
Right.
So it made sense, like a street fight, like wear pants, like an extra layer of protection.
Right.
But And then he kept that look going for a while on SmackDown when he got drafted over. But now it's back to the shorts. I'm like, good, stay there.
Yeah.
Just stay as you are. Dude, don't touch it. So,
if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Exactly. One last thing, I guess, just the Lars Sullivan interview with Michael Cole. Good Lord. I mean, he more or less said he was tired of getting bullied, so he started working out. And then he became the bully and beat up the other bullies.
It reminded me of like Mick Foley's interview with JR, when he was Mankind, that type of upbringing, his story, how he was raised and, that whole... Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah. I remember this. And he's pulling out his hair. And at the end, he attacked JR.
Right.
Yeah.
He gave him
and he's doing the pig squeals.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
But Lars Sullivan
Michael Cole's had these for a long time. I mean, going back to Heidenreich.
I remember that. Oh, God.
I was going to say.
But I mean, remember, for a while, weekly, he had interviews that were on WWE.com. And they were exclusive to WWE.com. But it got so much traction on the website that they started putting it on the show. So every week on the show, he'd be interviewing Triple H and Stephanie and Vince and whoever else.
Yeah. So I thought it was great. I mean, like, as far as I'm talking about, Lars Sullivan. I like the segment itself. It was kind of cringy as far as like he was like
a lot of heavy breathing.
Flexing his pec, stirring it.
I mean, like, who told him you got to do this interview with no shirt on? You sit there with no shirt, and you're doing heavy breathing, and then the scream, at the very end. Like, I was just kind of laughing, like,
what the hell?
What's going on? I mean, like I said last week, I guess they're trying to maybe make him a little more humanized, as far as he was a victim originally, and that turned him into this big, bad, evil person. So you guys somewhat sympathize with him.
Yeah. And look, I know I'm in the minority, but I like Lars Sullivan. The guy's got a freak look.
Yeah.
He's a freak athlete.
Freak.
So, there really is nobody else like him, and I can't recall seeing someone else that looked like him.
Yeah, I would say he's kind of like the last of the dying breed of these big monster kind of heel types, but has that old school look with the tights and the boots and all that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like his when we first saw him, even when we all saw him in person in San Jose with NXT. It was
when
like
he wrestled Keith Lee.
Dude, this is awesome. Like, he has like that old school 80s big monster
70s,
look.
60s.
Yeah, territory type wrestler look.
Timeless look. He's kind of like a Ox Baker or George the Animal Steel.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Vince probably is high up on him. And
King Kong Bundy.
He's giving him that push right now since he's been back from injury. So, listen, we all know at the end of the day, WWE is an audience of one, Vince McMahon. So if you're on his good side, he'll push you. Like, look at Otis. Now, I feel kind of bad for Otis, going back to him real quick. Lost his partner. Lost the Money in the Bank. It's like, what's next for him now? And that's something I think everyone should keep their eye on. Like, what's next for Otis?
Yeah. Keep your eye on that. But there's also a story to be told there somewhere down the line where he is going to go a serious route, because he is an amateur wrestler. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Legitimately. Yeah. And can turn that on. It's the same thing with Big E. Yeah. Like, Big E was comedy for how long? And now he's getting his shot.
Yeah. I mean, look at Kofi. God, his story, was over 10 years, 11 years for. Yep. So, you never know when someone.
He'll get his push.
Yeah. So, real quick, one last thing I just want to ask. Okay, here we are. Team Raw, Team SmackDown. 5-on-5. So far, we got 4 spots determined for each side. Early predictions, who you think might win this? I mean, Team Raw's big guys.
Raw is going to wipe the floor with SmackDown.
I agree.
In terms of their men's team, and I think SmackDown is going to wipe the floor with the women's team.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I would not be surprised if Bayley joins Team SmackDown.
Well, and that was something we didn't even talk about for Raw this week, was how Shayna and Nia basically took it into their own hands to bully the other members of the team and beat them up. And
Lana.
Yeah.
Once again, another table spot.
And I wanted to say this. I think that Lana did an excellent job in her role with the match with Nia, in terms of that was all set up to get sympathy for Lana. And I think she played that off brilliantly.
Yep.
Like
the segment backstage, the promo.
Anyone that's been in a real fight knows that you'll put your leg up in defense, like back off. And that's what she was doing. It wasn't like a wrestling thing where she's going to take the abuse. Like she's trying not to get hit like a real person would. Mm-hmm. She's begging off. I think she's going to be a surprise in that Survivor Series match, but I still don't think they're going to win it.
Yeah, I think she's going to have a strong showing there, and I think they're trying to make her a baby face in this whole odd way of doing it, but I think that's ultimately the end game. So, yeah, I think Raw is going to crush them. They have all the big guys and AJ Styles and Jordan, or they don't call him Jordan yet. They call him just the guy, or that guy that comes out with AJ Styles, his bodyguard or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Jason Jordan?
Is it Jordan, right? Is it Jordan his name?
No.
The big dude, the big guy that comes out with AJ Styles.
The 7
I don't know who you're talking about.
He doesn't have a name right now. Apparently, he's like 7'3". But anyway, I'm looking forward to Survivor Series. It's going to be coming up in a couple weeks, and I love this. I love this time of the year. I love Survivor Series. Maybe at some point, maybe next episode.
I think it's going to be a fun Survivor Series.
Yeah, I think we can maybe share some of our favorite Survivor Series moments next year, or next weekend, or something like that.
Next year.
Next year. Which, by the way, I think. How many times has Survivor Series, this is just a random trivia question, I'm already giving the answer away on the video, but how many times has Survivor Series did not actually have a traditional 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 match? I think I know the answer. I just want to double check if you guys knew.
2 or 3?
I think it's 2.
I can't remember many. Oh, no, there was that.
Remember when The Rock won? It was like a tournament for the championship, and Big Boss Man kept coming out.
Oh, that was great.
Was that 98, 99?
That was 98. No, that was 98.
98.
Big Boss Man kept coming out.
That's where they did the what's the Kevin Spacey movie?
7. Oh no! Wait,
no,
7. Usual Suspects.
Usual Suspects. They did the Usual Suspects thing.
Yeah,
because like Boss Man tosses the nightstick and Rock catches it.
Yeah,
and it was all a ploy the whole time.
Yeah, he was in on it the whole time, and The Rock joined Vince McMahon. Yeah. And then the other one was in the early 2000s, right when they had the Elimination Chamber instead.
Oh yeah,
I think if I remember correctly, like the debut of the Elimination Chamber. I remember hearing that stat recently, and I was like, oh really? So I'll double check. If you're listening right now, email us intthekliq@gmail.com
or call the hotline. Call the hotline 1-900-99.
Dude, I actually do have a phone number through Google, and I haven't used it. And I got to use it because Google said you got to use this number, or we're going to take it back. So maybe if we want to maybe set up a voicemail system where people can call us and we can answer.
Can you choose the number?
Is this like Livewire? Where people just call in and just chime in what they got to say.
Richard, answer your question. They generated the number. I wish we could pick it.
I have a poor landline here.
Yeah, so
I would like 1-900-909-9900, please.
Remember, it was a 10-10-321.
Oh yeah, 10-10-321. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Attention, hotline fans.
Yeah. 1-800-COLLECT.
Oh man,
those commercials were nonstop. Man.
Yeah, I hear ya. On that note, we're having way too much fun. We should call it a night. So, on that note, let's wrap it up. Richard, where can all the Kliqsters find you online?
Nowhere. You can find me at Pro Wrestling 101 on Instagram and give my King of the Deathmatch tournament a watch.
Dude, I started watching that earlier.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
You want to hear a story? I remember my old buddy Matt sent me the tape of that match, like over 20 years ago.
Yeah,
and we watched it together.
Big Matt.
Yeah,
from high school. Yeah.
Shout out to Big Matt Warnock if you're listening. You know,
he's right down the street. Let's go.
Yeah, he lives. Yeah,
go outside and yell,
Matt, the deathmatch time.
Yeah, he was the one that introduced me to that match.
I didn't realize. Richard, that was like under 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. Because, I mean, they show highlights of that for years. And I was like, what? It's only 15.
Well, I mean, I did some editing. Because there's like 5 more minutes after the match where he's holding up the trophy. So I just pieced it together and I cut out the opening. So I got it bell to bell.
I know we're running long here, but maybe we'll save this for another time. Just
No, go for it.
The history of Terry Funk. Like, listen, and like you said, this is another topic. Like, I'm really fascinated by Terry Funk's history in wrestling. As far as when Tommy and I really watched him, going back to Chainsaw Charlie and all that's the 90s. That was such the latter part of his career. I didn't realize how much of him in the past, because like I see like lately a lot of Instagram posts, of him just wearing like tights and he's very plain looking.
Yeah. When he went before he was crazy.
Yeah. So like, and that's like what, in the 70s, I'm guessing?
So here's the thing. Like,
when did he become like this deathmatch person when he was just more of a traditional wrestler?
I remember my introduction to Terry Funk is WWF and the Attitude Era.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I remember him in WCW.
Okay.
And then when those went away and I started buying DVDs, I remember like just about everything I would buy would have Terry Funk on it, because it was like 3PW, which was in the ECW arena. It was this company owned by the Blue Meanie, and Terry Funk was always on those.
Yeah.
And I just kept seeing him, and then I'd buy the XPW DVDs, which was a mistake. But and I just remember, like, after a while, I'm watching him, and I'm thinking he looks like a homeless person that lives at the train tracks.
Yeah.
And then like it became funny to me because he'd like flail his arms like a
crazy old man.
Like a crazy old man. And then like you start finding these little things here and there from WCW and the NWA.
Yes,
and
yeah.
So Terry was always kind of crazy. Like he was kind of like Dick Murdoch, where he would do silly things from time to time in the ring.
Yeah.
He goes to Memphis and has that crazy empty arena match with Lawler.
Jerry Lawler, yeah.
And disappears from wrestling for a little while, comes back, basically him as a heel.
Yeah.
And then in his late 40s, he starts doing moonsaults.
Yeah.
And going over to Japan to do these death matches.
Mm-hmm.
And because like the hardcore... Because they paid him a shitload of money. That's why he keeps coming out of retirement too, is because they keep offering him more money.
I didn't realize he's almost 80 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's him.
Turned 78.
Terry Funk, Dory Funk, and Ric Flair are the only 3 traveling world champions alive.
Yes.
Yeah. 76, I might say.
Yeah. I just I'm amazed. So like I said, I would love to have this discussion. I listen, I know every week we break down Raw, SmackDown, NXT, blah, 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 all that. I would love to have more like open forum conversations about wrestling. So maybe we should save this for another time.
Right.
But just like, I'm always amazed because like, I forgot where I saw it, but like, the power of Instagram and Twitter, like I've seen lately.
He became a hardcore wrestling god in the 90s.
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at is like, I see all these posts recently of Terry Funk in the past, and he looks more like a traditional wrestler from the 70s and 80s. But it's like, I was like, how did he transfer from that to like the crazy old man hardcore legend?
His knees started to give out on him, and he figured if I could introduce violence, then I don't have to do some of the other crazy. Like if you go back and watch WrestleMania 2 with the Funks against Tito Santana and Junkyard Dog, Terry is bumping like Mr. Perfect in there, but like falling face first and on his knees. And so he just did a lot of damage to both of his knees, and he had to change his style. Like Daniel Bryan now has to change his style from what it used to be.
Yeah. So listen, I told you guys this before. So, Evan, one of the creators of Dark Side of the Ring, his favorite wrestler is Terry Funk as well. So maybe we could have like an open forum chat with him. Like maybe one day I'll text him and see if he wants to come on, and we can just talk about Terry Funk. Like
get Terry Funk on.
Yeah, I'd love to get Terry Funk on. I mean, he's supposedly on Twitter now.
I got a contact.
Okay, like it's just mind-boggling to me. Just like I said, power
forever.
But that instant right there, that was what, 83?
83 in all Japan.
So think about it. Still like 10 plus years later, he becomes this like hardcore legend. When back then, that first retirement, he was more of just a legendary wrestler. So anyway, it's just like
I loved watching him in ECW, and I remember him from WCW back in like 90, 91.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, with Ric Flair and the plastic bag, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Sabu barbed wire match.
Yeah, all that. So.
Raven.
I've got one that I don't know why it hasn't become more of an online thing, but basically Terry is wrestling Shane Douglas in, this is like 2003 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And they go outside the ECW arena, and Shane breaks a legitimate beer bottle over Funk, and it cuts open his forearm, and basically his forearm starts coming out of the skin, and it's terrible.
Wow.
But Terry finishes the match. So
because he's middle-aged and crazy.
He's elderly at that point and crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
But no, we should do some roundtable discussions.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I think, luckily now with my setup here, we're able, I think, to get multiple people on now, so should be a lot of fun. So, all right, you plugged yourself. Tommy, where can all the Kliqsters find you online as well?
Oh, you could find me on Twitter and Instagram at IronFist1982.
Baby Huey, follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83, and like I said, please subscribe to In The Kliq, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Follow us on social media as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. And on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line because Huey said so.